Well, welcome back to the farm. This week we are going to be doing got a few projects. One is I'm going to try to move the cows. I was going to wait till I worked them. I've got the vet coming, but our dates and the date I've got for my head gate is not going to work. So I need to get the cows off of this center pasture onto some a little bit better grass. So I'm going to move them, and then we're going to work them the 1st of August. So stay tuned for that. So right now what I'm working on, and we'll have some stuff, part of our last video I showed you about our used equipment. I got the fence unroller. Well, with that, and a lot of it I work by myself, we have started the first section of the fence project for the corral area around the barn. So stay tuned for that. For this section, for this particular section, I am using a Stay Tough 1348 3 wire. And the reason that I'm using that, here, I'll walk down here a little where I've got it kind of sitting up where it didn't fall over, is I haven't stretched it yet. I just unrolled the first roll. So but if you kind of look, hope you can see it through the camera. One of the things with this wire is it's really tight. If you notice at the bottom down there, it is really small panels. So one of the things that I learned from having goats at my other place is normal field fence or cattle fence, big 6-inch or even some 4-inch woven wire for small goats or for yearling. After they get about a year old, a little over a year old, you don't typically have this problem with like field fencing. But for young goats, where they're just starting to get their horns, and that's where I'm going to kind of use this pin for. It's going to be kind of for my yearlings. We'll use it as a weaning pin, but this whole section I'm going to fence with this 1348 by 3. And the reason is it's really tight, and it'll keep the goats from sticking their head through. Horns, we don't debud our boar goats. So when they stick their head through, the horns will go through the fence fine. But then when they go to come back out, they get their heads hung up. Now that's okay. It doesn't, if they catch it low, if they do it low to the ground, that's not an issue. They just kind of, they get hung up. And if you check your animals every day, you come out there and they'll just be laying on the ground and kind of hung up. The problem is though, if they reach up kind of high and they stick their head, well then when they come out, they hang themselves. They basically suffocate themselves. And my last place, I lost 3 goats because of that. And I even had a hot wire, the sun's kind of bothering me. I even had a hot wire on the inside to kind of keep them from leaning on the fence. But the problem was they would get low or they would step over it, and well, then they would get on the hot wire, but they already hung. So learning from experience, if you're going to have an area with and you don't debud your goats, and we just don't debud our boar goats, you need a fence pretty tight for that section that is going to be for the yearlings up to 18 months. Usually their horns have done got big enough for good, for average field fencing, where they can't get their horns through it anymore. So that's what we're using. Kind of stay tuned. I'm gonna kind of have some video of me doing this. This is the first time for me. Reason I chose Stay Tough is for 2 reasons. I kind of liked what I've seen on their reviews, and I'm not getting paid. Trust me, I paid for every bit of this fence. I'm not getting paid to promote their product. 2 reasons. The store, the The first one obviously is the place where I get my supplies. That's what they sell. But I was looking at other places. I was looking at just the standard fence that you can get at the big box stores, the Tractor Supplies, the Rural Kings. They have Red Brand and stuff like that. I am paying a little more. I'm getting high tensile. This is high tensile fence. As you can see, like certain areas, I'm not cutting the trees down. I'm doing that on purpose. That's a shade for the animals. That's a place for them. Today it was 90 degrees in Virginia. So I don't want to cut the trees down, but high tensile fence is stronger. With the goats being, sometimes I am going to put a hot wire on the inside, mainly just to keep them from rubbing on it. But they still may rub on it some. High tensile is just better for that. It's not going to bow out as much. So that was the other reason I'm using Stay Tough. And I like the knots. There's some other brands out there, but this is what we chose to use. So stay tuned, watch all this. It's going to be, like I say, a weekly video. I'll be doing some fencing this week. We may get some video of us moving the cows, just some other stuff. So stay tuned for more. All right, well, we've got the fence spliced together between the first roll and the second roll. So I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but that's the splice joint. You can kind of tell it's a little bit closer. I think on the next time I'm going to give myself a little bit more tail to work, make it easier to work. I've got like a 3-inch panel and I turned it into a 2-inch. So problem is, when I started with the end, that's the way it was. So to make it even, I had to keep going that way. So lesson learned there. So now we're going to take this, we're going to finish stretching it up that line, and then see how much more we got, and see if I can go to where the gate post is. Should have enough to get to the gate post, and then we've got to splice it again. Well, we got to tie it to the post. So, and we'll have some footage of that as well. welcome back. We've got our first string. Don't pay any attention to the cardboard. Has a T-post there. I'm learning. I figured out I'd made a mistake, but I done already started getting this thing tight, and it already started putting the gripples in. So I'm gonna have to fix that. I figured out a way to fix it, and I'm gonna have to add another post in here. But the problem is I don't have my auger right now, and I run out of post. So I got to get some more wood post, along with some more Stay Tough wire. So, but I do have this one strand in. This is about 200 and so a little over 200. It's probably 320 feet. So I've got maybe a little more than that. Maybe it was probably maybe 380, because I've got just a little bit of a roll left, and I used two 200-foot rolls. So here's where we're at now. I'm using Gripples. I'll kind of hold that up. I know there's debate on whether Gripples are good. I've seen some of the videos tying knots versus the Gripples. And I know how to tie the knots. I've tied this, although I should have waited until after I put the wire in, because now this was in the way. So I know how to tie the knots. My problem is, and I know the light, I'm doing this in the afternoon and it's still mighty hot. The spacing I have right here, and then it gets even. Come on down and kind of show it right in here. So if I'm trying to take this where I've stripped it out, and then it goes around the post, and then I have to come into this right here, I have very little space right there to work to try to tie the knot. Well, the other option is I can cut out even more, and then I can have all of this room right here. Sorry, I can have all of this room. Well, my whole point of this pasture was to have really tight netting for small baby goats and predator protection. So where I've got it right now is I've got a horizontal wire right up on the post, so I don't have any gaps. So that's why I chose to use the Gripples. You know, some people say they're just as good as knots, and some people say they're better. Sorry, I'm moving the camera around. You know, we'll find out. I'll tell you that I made more mistakes probably putting the fence up that I'm going to have to pay for down the road. One being this line right here was kind of on the property line, and I didn't really add much more to it. I used some of the existing posts. I didn't do a lot of drilling, putting new posts in. It's not that I couldn't, it's just I wanted to get this one done. So being in a hurry, I've got some small posts. I already see that I'm gonna have to go back and put a few T-posts in between the wooden posts, because I've got too much distance and I'm worried that it's gonna be floppy. It's pretty tight. I've got it what I call banjo string tight. Now I didn't go past, you can kind of see, well, right here you can't, because you see this little indention. That's a tensioning gauge for this wire. Now we're over here. I hope you can see it. Here's one right here. I still got indention in it. Now it's not as much as it was when it was, you know, out, but you don't ever want to pull it flat. So that's kind of where we're at. So I am putting Gripples in, and we'll see how they work. I've got to add some more posts, but at least we've got our first strand of woven wire fence on the farm. I've got about 900 more feet to go. So we'll have some more on this project, and And I'll have more this week. I've got some gravel coming, hopefully Saturday. This is middle of the week, so I'm gonna kind of stitch all of these videos together and kind of do one. I haven't even decided what I'm gonna call it yet. So I may even split it up and do one fencing and one barn, but if not, I'll just kind of put them all together. We'll wait and see. So catch us on the next sections. It's getting so dark now, I'm not gonna be able to film anymore. I'm gonna work till I can't hardly see and try to finish this gripples up and take your tension off, see how it works, and see what I've got. So I'll show the finished product later on. So stay tuned for more.